Fantastic. Okay. So I don't have too many slides, but I thought it would be a good idea to maybe say who I am, say what our company is and what we do, and then talk about sort of the world of data and where Tableau is situated in the world of data, and then some pros and cons of Tableau, some alternatives, and then we'll get started with the workshop. I think this context is useful to kind of understand what the point of Tableau is compared to other tools and things such as Python. So who am I? I'm a consultant. I've been a consultant at Argusa for about 2 years now. Before that, I studied business administration at the University of Lausanne. I did then a PhD in economics, and after that, decided to not continue in academia, joined Argusa, and I've been working for a variety of clients in different sectors for a while, doing different types of tasks, notably data analytics using Tableau. So what is Argusa? We're a data consulting company. We've got 3 service lines. We help companies with enterprise analytics. So this would be implementation of technical solutions. You know, it would be building ML models. It would be building dashboards. It would be doing data integration. So sourcing data from different systems, putting it in one place, and all sorts of technical things that our clients may need help with their data. We also do governance and strategy, because of course you can imagine that sometimes enterprise data is very confidential. Not everybody should have access to, like, you know, the personal phone number of the CEO of a multinational or something. So there's some security that has to be put in place, and we help companies with governance and with data strategies as well. We also have a data literacy branch to sort of like level up people's knowledge of data, what to do with data, what you can get, you know, when you exploit it properly. And so these are our 3 service lines. I didn't make a slide about this, but I should say that we are a fast-growing company. Right now we're 13, and just about a year and a half ago we were 8 consultants. So we're growing quite fast, and now we're a team of 13 consultants. And our offices are actually in this building on the 4th floor. So we work with leading technology solutions. We like to use these services because it allows us to hand over projects to our clients, you know, easily, and transfer the work in an easy and seamless way. We use Data Vault Builder, which helps build database models, Snowflake, which is a warehousing solution, and they have also other things. We work with Tableau, and also, so that's for data analytics, reporting, building dashboards, data visualization. And then we also work with Dataiku, which is a tool that allows you to build machine learning models, essentially. We work with a wide range of clients across varying industries. Here's just a short list of the clients we've worked with. You know, we have education institutions, manufacturing companies, we have banks, we have insurances, and all sorts of different clients in different types of industries. I'd also like to shamelessly plug our data challenge, which is happening in 2 weeks. It's a data engineering and analytics challenge. It's designed to be over a whole day. Like I said, we are accepting 20 groups, and we already have 10 confirmed groups. So if this is something you're interested in, you can sign up. You can sign up now. On the last slide of this presentation that I'll show at the very end, we have a QR code, so you can go. There are some really interesting prizes, including up to 1,000 francs for the winning team. So that's pretty nice. So yeah, sign up. We already did one last year, and it was a resounding success. Everybody told us it was a lot of fun. So if this is something you're interested in, feel free to sign up. So the data world, so to speak, is vast, and there are many different functional areas, you could say, in the data world. There's a whole area of it around data storage and management, so managing your database, you know, storing large volumes of data, and all of this aspect related to where are we going to put all of this stuff, and how are we going to manage it. There's integration, data integration and processing. So this has to do with sourcing data from different systems. You know, companies use different ERP tools that all have their own data. And if you want to do any type of analytics, you got to source data from this system and put it in a data warehouse, source data from that system, put it in a data warehouse. And that's a whole field in itself. You've got data engineering. So this is developing data pipelines, maybe transforming data, and creating the different features and getting the data in such a way that you can analyze it and build models afterwards. Data strategy and management. So this is what I talked about with security, governance, which is really quite a big deal. You got to make sure that the data is secure. It's not going to leak. You're not going to have sensitive information that's released to the public. Of course, data science and machine learning. I'm sure you are all familiar with what this is, building models, predictions, and so on, deployed in production that it can be used on an ongoing basis. Data governance and compliance. Well, it sort of goes hand in hand with data strategy and management. Maybe I should say a little bit more about what data strategy is. Is like, you know, you're in charge of figuring out, well, what are we going to do with all of this? What are some of the things we want to get out of our data? And then finally, data visualization and reporting. And this is where Tableau fits in and this sort of landscape. And the goal here is to build visualizations, dashboards, interactive dashboards for business users that are going to be able to make decisions based on these dashboards. One of the key advantages also of Tableau is that then these dashboards will be, will use data that's fresh and in real time, and so everything's always up to date. So what is Tableau? It's a leading data visualization and business intelligence tool that empowers users to connect to a wide variety of data sources, create interactive and shareable dashboards, and transform data into actionable insights. So that's really the goal of building these dashboards, is to take all of this raw data and then slice it in all sorts of different ways to end up with something that's interesting and that helps people make informed decisions, data-driven decisions. I'm not a Tableau salesman, so I'm going to give you a little list of pros and cons of Tableau. Although it is the leading solution and I like it a lot, there are some things that are wrong with it. Some of the pros, it has a very user-friendly interface, as you guys will see in a minute. There's very intuitive drag and drop functionality that helps you to create nice-looking visualizations very easily compared to like writing it out in code. You can do advanced visualizations, create sophisticated dashboards where if you click here, it filters the rest of the views, all of this interactively. It's quite nice. And it also works cross-platform. One of the cons is it's quite expensive. I mean, you guys won't be paying for it, your companies will. So, it's their problem in a sense, but it is quite expensive compared to some of their competitors. There's some limited data preparation. You can do data preparation. We'll actually do some in a minute, but it's limited compared to some other tools. And for some of the more advanced features, there is somewhat of a learning curve. So it's best for users needing advanced interactive visualizations without coding. It's ideal for quick insights, but at a higher cost. Some alternatives are Power BI. This is sort of a direct competitor to Tableau made by Microsoft. It's suited for those in the Microsoft ecosystem. So you'll see when you go into companies that a lot of companies also use Power BI. It's sort of bundled into their other offers. And so a lot of companies decide to go with that. It's cheaper than Tableau as well and has good data modeling. Looker is Google's version of this type of software. It's good because it integrates well with the Google Cloud, and it requires a bit more technical expertise. And then you can also use Python and different libraries to build these dashboards yourself. It offers more flexibility than these other tools that I presented here, but it comes with a need for knowing how to code, and it's a bit more complex to put into place and to maintain. So that's it for the slides for now. So what I'm going to do first is going to mirror my displays. Yes, of course, I'll share the URL link. It's right here. There we go. Yes.
So we can use the free trial?
Yes, you can use the free trial. Yeah.
Can we use the web version?
Yes, it should be enough. It should be enough. So I tried to make this kind of like fun and cool. So the scenario here is we're the data analyst for a large multinational company that does e-commerce. Think something like Amazon. We work for a global superstore that sells, all sorts of goods that are in different types of categories and then classified in subcategories to different segments, to like a consumer segment, a corporate segment, and we also sell home office goods. We have data. I'll show this in the Excel files in a second. And so we have obviously data about the sale price of our goods, the profit that we made by selling these goods, how many of these goods we sold in each order, and all sorts of data about all this, as well as some data about shipping. And some of this data is not, put together. We've got orders and shipping information for the years 2014, 2015, and 2016. So what we'll start by doing now is we're going to combine the shipping data for 2014, 15, and 16, the orders data for 14, 15, and 16, and then join those two together. And then we'll start building some visualization. We good with the link? Okay. So just a little refresher about what unions and joins are. I'm sure you all know this, but it may be useful just to kind of refresh what all of this is about. So you can think of a union as sort of adding additional lines to a table. So we have two tables here, with IDs 1 and 2, some information about cities, names, and here in the yellow table, IDs 3 and 4 with also the same information about cities and names. If you do a union of these two tables, you're basically sticking the yellow table below the blue table. So that's what a union is. So this is what a union would look like with tables with the same structure. And in our example, our tables have exactly the same structure. But you can do unions with tables with different types of structures as well. And the result here will just be null values where there wasn't any information. Joining data, you can think of joining data as adding columns. So you're enriching your data not by adding additional rows, but by adding additional columns. And to do a join, you need a key. And in this case, we have an ID 1 and 2 on the left side, ID 1 and 2 on the right side, and we're sticking the H column here to the right of the blue table. There are different types of joins. An inner join, where you're keeping only the intersection, what's common between the right and the left table. A full outer join, where you keep everything. A right join, where you keep what is unique to the right table, as well as what is in common with the left table, and the left join is the opposite. You keep everything that's unique in the left table and stick the additional columns that are common in both, or where the IDs are common in both. So some examples. Here's a left join. So what we're doing here is we're keeping everything that's in this table, whether it's unique or not, and we're sticking in the corresponding things from this table here. So we've got the H column that's not present there. We've got IDs 1 and 3, they're 1 and 2. So we're keeping what's common between both, which is ID 1, and so we get H here. And then we get a null value for 2 because it doesn't exist in the right table. The right join is the opposite. So here we keep everything that's unique to the right table, 1 and 3. We get rid of the line number 2, ID number 2 there, and we get this result with null values. And then the full join is we keep everything. So now we have we have IDs 1, 2, and 3, nulls where there's no information, and so on. The inner join would be keeping only line 1 because that's the only one that's common between these two tables. All right, so let's get started. Let's open up Tableau. Give me a sec, it's gonna open up. And then I'll sort of explain the interface, and then we'll get started doing these unions and then joining the data. Oh, I said I would. Okay, so this is what the data would look like. Like I said, we've got information about orders, the date the order was made at, information about customers, their names, what segment we sold to, the city they're from, and so on. Some information about the sales price, the product name, quantity, if there was a discount, profit, and so on. So all sorts of information a global superstore would have. Tableau, you should have something that looks kind of like this. I have some things up here. Can you see the mouse okay on the screen here? Should I make this bigger? Yes? A little bit bigger? Okay. The connection pane allows you to connect to a whole range of different data sources. You can connect to a Tableau server. So companies, this is what they would generally have, either a server running locally on their machines in their company or something in the cloud. And you could publish data sources there. So you could go get your data on the server. You could connect to a file. And this is what we're going to do here in an instant. We're going to connect to Microsoft Excel files, but you can also connect to servers. And you can see here that there's a whole range of things you can connect to. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect to an Excel file. So we can click here, Microsoft Excel. And the interface changes. And now what we can see here is we're connected to this Excel file. On the left side, we see here up in the left-hand corner, the table we're connected to and what's contained in that file. We've got orders 2014. We have a snapshot of the data here, data types, and all sorts of information. What we're going to do now is we're going to make a union. So we have 2014, 15, and 16. We want to have all of these in one unique data set. To do this, we're going to, if we hover over the orders 2014 box, there's a little arrow that appears. If you click on this arrow, you can convert to a union. So sorry, my Tableau is in French. I think it's convert to union or something like that. So if you click there, you see now that this little icon here has changed to a little pile of bricks. That means we're building a union. And what we're going to do is a union with a wildcard, which means that it's going to take, it's going to take any character that would exist. So here they're all called orders 2014, orders 2015. So what we can do here is remove the 14 and add just a star here, exactly like this. So this is going to take all of the files that start with orders underscore 20 and anything that comes after here, .xlsx. So we do that. And then we click OK. And so now if we hover over this box, we see that there are some tables that have been union, and there are several tables in here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to double click. Here we can actually see that there are multiple tables. You see there's some kind of like perspective there underneath that box. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add an additional connection. So now we're going to add in the shipping data. To do that, we can click on the Add button here. Click on the Add button, Microsoft. And now we see here we have shipping 2014 that's been added. And we see that right now it's configured to do an inner join. What we need to do now is also create a union with shipping 2014 because we want also the 2015 and 2016 data. So we do the same procedure we just did. Click on the little arrow, convert to a union. We click here. And then again, we're going to do a union with a wildcard. Same procedure as before. Delete the 14, add a star, and then click OK. Okay. Now we have to, remember when I said we do a join, we have to join on a key. So now we're going to specify what key we're going to use to join on. So if we click on these intersecting circles, here are some parameters we can use to configure this join. And we're going to change order date to row ID. So to do that, we just use this drop down. We can type, well, it's actually right here, so I'm not going to type, but we could type whatever field we want. We're going to choose row ID on the left, and then also row ID here on the right. There we go. Last thing we can do if we want to be a little bit organized is rename the data source. We can click up here and then just type global superstore. There we go. So it should look like this for you. So once we're done, we can close this. Now you see we have some intersecting circles, which tells us that within this little box, there's a join happening. And then we're going to click down here where it says, what does it say in English? Sheet 1. Thanks. So we click on sheet 1. And so now we arrive on this interface. So this is kind of like the opposite side of the coin of what we just saw. Before we were in the what are these called? Tabs in the data preparation tab, where we could do all sorts of things with the data, separate by commas or whatever we would like to do, unions and joins. And now we can start building visualizations. So this is what we're going to start doing. So as I said before, the Tableau is pretty intuitive and everything kind of works with drag and drop. So we can play around with this a little bit. See, like if I take category and I dropped category and lines, you can do this as well if you'd like. We can see the categories start appearing. If I put categories in the columns, now I see the categories as columns. You can also see here that on the left, you've got some fields that are blue and some fields that are green. These blue fields are called dimensions in Tableau, and the green fields are called measures in Tableau. The difference between these two things is that dimensions are things that you can use to separate your data. So you can look at sales by client, you can look at sales by category, you can look at sales by name. They're generally discrete values. And then your measures are things that you can aggregate. You can calculate a sum, you can calculate a mean, and so on. And these are generally continuous. So let's take sales, for example, and drag sales in the columns. And we can see that Tableau creates this nice bar chart for us. So this is already pretty nice, but you can go a little bit further with Tableau, and you can start also personalizing the appearance of this visualization. So up here you see columns and rows, and the columns and the rows are where you're going to put the things that appear on your axes. So you've got columns and you've got sales. You've got your rows here of your graph, which are the categories. So everything that you're going to add in the columns and the rows are going to determine what is going to be visualized, the x-axis and the y-axis of your visualization. But then you also have the marks card here, which allows you to personalize and configure a little bit what it is that you're going to be seeing. So you can change the appearance of these bars. You can color these bars and give them a color in accordance with something else, like in accordance with, which market these goods were sold in. You can do a fade from one color to a next, in accordance with how much profit each category generated and so on. You've got the size mark here, which allows you to change the size of one of these bars in accordance with another measure. You've got, what's this one called in English? What's this one called in English? The label, yeah. So you can add labels, of course, right? You can add, here it's about 4,000K. You could add that written here on the graph. You've got details, which allows you to change the level of detail. And then you've got also the tooltip, which is the following here, right? You see furniture and the amount of sales. So let's add some more things to this visualization. So we've got our sales by category. How about we get our sales by category and subcategory? So to do that, we look for the subcategory dimension here on the left. You also have this handy search bar here, so we could type subcategory. And if we drag subcategory to the right of category, now we have the amount of sales by category and subcategory. Now let's use the marks card, and we will add color to these bars. So let's look for profit. and then we drag profit and we drop it on color. So this is pretty neat. This is pretty informative already, right? So we have the amount of sales by category and subcategory, as well as a color that indicates how much profit each of these subcategories generated. And we can immediately see that tables, although we have a large amount of sales, about 600K, the profits we're making in this category are negative. All of this by just dragging and dropping a few dimensions and measures in the right places. All right. So remember I told you the scenario here is we're building this dashboard for like the CEO of this global superstore, or maybe like a manager of one of the segments of this global superstore. So this superstore sells to three segments. It sells to the consumer segment, it sells to the corporate segment, and it sells to a home office segment as well. So imagine we're building a dashboard for these managers that are responsible for the sales of each of these different segments. So if I'm one of these managers and I want to see, what my segment is doing, what are the sales of my segment, I need to be able to filter this data and look at only the data that pertains to my area, right? So to do this, we can add filters to this view quite easily. You see here we have a little box up here where it says filters, and we can just simply drag and drop things in there, and that'll add a filter for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the segment dimension, and we're going to just drag and drop segment to the filters here. So here are the three segments: consumer, corporate, and home office. And right now we're not going to filter on anything, although we could if we wanted to. We're just going to select all of them and put OK. And then we're going to use this filter again in a little while. All right. So we're about finished with this one, but there's one more thing I would like to add. Because what we have here, so remember, we were looking at 3 years, 2014, 2015, 2016. And what would be interesting to see is the tables always suck this much. Maybe at some point in the past, sales of tables were actually profitable. So what I would like to be able to do now is to see, just by hovering over the tables bar here, what the historical sales and profits for this category were. So what's pretty cool with Tableau is you can add visualizations directly into the tooltip. And so this is what we're going to do now. So the tooltip, again, is this. If I'm hovering over a bar, I see some of the information that's displayed in the view, and we're going to add into this a graph. All right? So to do that, we have to build a graph, and we're going to build a graph now. So at the bottom, you have these 3 buttons, and the one to the very left is to add a new sheet. So we're going to click here, and we're going to add a new sheet. And the visualization we're going to prepare is simply the sales and the profit month over month. So what we're going to do is we're going to add order date from the left-hand side, in the dimensions and measures pane. We're going to drag and drop order date into the columns. So dates are a little bit particular. They always are, no matter what type of tool or language you're using. And you can consider dates in different types of ways in Tableau. So you see here it says année, which is year in French, of order date. And we see 2014, 15, and 16. What I would like is to see the evolution month over month. So dates could be considered in 2 ways in Tableau. They could be considered as dimensions, as discrete categories, like the year 2014 is completely separate from the year 2015. Or you could see it as a continuous measure with things that evolve over time. So you can configure this date to be both of these, whichever one you choose. And so we're going to change this now. If we right-click over year of order date in the rows, we have a whole bunch of options here. This first block here of options are if we want to consider date as something, as a dimension, as discrete categories. Or the second block here is if we want to consider dates as measures, as continuous categories, or continuous measures. So we're going to select month in the second block here. And so now we see this has changed. Now we have data from December 2013 all the way to December 2016. So we're almost there. Now what we need to show here is we have to display the sales and the profit over time. So we're going to look for sales and profit here on the left-hand side. We scroll down to where the measures are, and we're going to drag and drop sales and profits onto the rows. So we can drag profit and we can drag sales. So here by default, Tableau builds us two visualizations because we put two measures here in the rows. But what we're going to do is we're going to combine them in a dual axis chart. This makes sense in this case because we're working with profits and sales, and both of these are measured in dollars or francs or whatever. It's the same unit, so we can combine them on the same chart. To do this, we can right-click on sales or profit, whichever one is to the right for you. For me, it's sales. That's to the right. You right-click on it, and then you can see there is dual axis. If you click on dual axis, you'll see that the charts are now combined, and you have both of these on sales and profits on the same chart. Now here we have to be very careful, and this is how statisticians lie with data. Here you would think the global superstore is the best business ever, because if you're just looking at the lines, they're like one over the other. But if you look at the axes, you see that the axes are not on the same scale. So we're going to have to synchronize these axes so that we have an accurate picture of what's going on. Pretty simple to do so. We can right-click on one of these axes and then synchronize the axes. And so now we see that things weren't as good as we thought they were. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hide the sales axis because both the profit and the sales are now on the same unit, the same range, so we can just hide it. Right-click again, and then we hide the I don't know what this is called in English. What's this?
Show header.
Show header. Thanks. So we hide the header. There we go. This looks quite good. We're going to add one last thing because we want it to be super simple to see if profits are positive or if profits are negative. So here to the left, you see we have data and then we have analytics or something like that. You have two tabs here up above the dimensions and measures. We're going to click on the analytics tab. And here we have a whole bunch of things we can do. We can add, for example, trend lines. We can also make predictions. And so these are some things that Tableau lets you do. But what we're going to add is a reference band. So you see down here, reference band, and we can add a reference band to the chart. And we're going to simply click on it, drag, and drop this on profit here for the table. So we want a reference band for the entire table. It's going to be red, and it's going to be from minus 10,000 to 0. So that way, if the blue line is within that red band, it means that profits were negative. So we drop that, a menu appears, and we're going to configure this band now. So we're going to say we're going to change. Here the value is at some level of profit. We're going to enter a constant. So we're going to change. We're going to change here where it's written minimum. We're going to put constant, and the value is going to be 0. And then the end of the band, we're going to do the same thing, change this to constant and put the value at minus 10,000. There we go. So it should look like this for you. We can change the color as well because we want this to be nice and red. Okay, so this is what it should look like for you. Constants and then 0 and minus 10,000. Then we can click OK. And so now we have this nice visualization. What we're going to do now, remember the whole purpose of this is to see what the evolution of the sales of a particular subcategory are over time. So now we go back to the other sheet we were on before. And then we click on Tooltip. And then here you see we can insert some things. So we have some things that are tags here, like the sum of sales are a tag, which allows the sum of sales to change dynamically depending on what our mouse is over. and we can add a visualization in here. So we're going to insert a sheet, and we're going to choose sheet 2. All right, we can insert a sheet, and we choose the sheet 2, the one we just made. We insert sheet 2. It adds another tag, and we're just going to change a little thing here. You see it says max width equals 300, max height equals 300. We're going to put it at 600 and then 600. All right. So once we've done this, we can click OK. And then now we can see when we hover over these different bars, we have a nice graph that appears directly inside of the tooltip.
So I missed how we do this?
To put it inside of the tooltip?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you click on tooltip. It opens up this interface. And here you have an insert. You click on insert, and then you can add in a sheet. Good. And then you can, yeah, I mean, this is like cosmetic, but you can change here max width and max height to 600 just so it's a little bit bigger. All right. So that's the first visualization that I wanted to create. All right, let's just rename this sheet. So to rename a sheet, right click on it and then rename. And let's call it, I don't know, sales and profit by category or something like that. Okay. Next, I'd like to create a map because the person I'm creating this dashboard for is he or she is a big shot and is the manager of the entire segment for the whole world. So that person needs to see how this segment is doing across the entire globe. So we're going to create a map that shows you the sales and profit by country. So let's click on a new sheet. And we've got a few things we have to set up here before we can build the map. So a few things to mention. On the left here, right next to the names of our different dimensions, you can see some symbols. ABC denotes strings. A little calendar denotes the date format, and a globe denotes a geocoded format. So with these little fields that have a globe, we can build maps. One of the things I would like to do before we start building the map is to tell Tableau that this data is hierarchical. That is, we have countries, and then within countries, we have states, and then within states, we have cities. And so in that way, we can, we tell Tableau that this data is structured in this way. To do that, super simple. We can grab state and then drag and drop it over country. And then it asks us if we want to create a hierarchy. We say, okay. And then we see we have a hierarchy here that's been created with these little kind of like connected blocks. And then we could add cities in there, but we don't need to for what we want to do right now. So let's build our map. To build the map, super simple. We just double click on country. And it builds this map for us. You can see here in the rows and in the columns, we have latitude and longitude and parentheses generated. So Tableau has a database with coordinates for each country. And when you put a geocoded field and that field is recognized, the values of that field are recognized by Tableau, then it puts a dot on the map for you. So here we have a nice map. We've got some little dots, and we'd like these little dots to change in size and color according to the profits and the sales. So to do that, we're going to use the marks card again, and we're going to go look for sales, and then we're going to drop sales on size. So we do that, and then we see that these little dots change in size according to the amount of sales. We can do the same for profit. We take profit and we drag and we drop it on color. And then these little dots change in color in accordance to the amount of profits. And so we can see that some regions like Turkey are not profitable regions. All right. So now, like before, I'd like to insert another visualization in the tooltip of this one. In fact, what I'd like to do is if I hover, for example, over the United States, I'd like a map of the United States to appear here with the sales and profit for each of the individual states of the United States. And for that to work for every single country here on this map. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this sheet 3. We're going to right click and then duplicate. We just duplicate it. And then remember, we built this hierarchy. So Tableau knows that states are within countries. And in fact, if you look here at country, you can see there's a little plus. If we click this little plus, it's going to unroll the hierarchy and go one level down. And so now we have information about the states. So now we can insert this in the tooltip and have it do what we want. So let's go back to sheet 3. Again, like before, click on tooltip. And again, like before, insert a sheet. And it's going to be sheet 3 in parentheses 2. All right. So then we have this tag that's been inserted. We click OK. And now if we hover over a country, we have a nice little map of the states of that country with the profit and sales if they exist. Let's rename sheet 3. We'll rename it like a map or something. Map. Okay. All right. So the last visualization we're going to create before we make a dashboard is going to show us the top 10 products for each segment in accordance with profits. So let's give that a shot. So more than just the raw sales and profits aggregated over an entire category, what's interesting for this manager is to see, well, which are the products that are actually doing good in these different segments. So we're going to build this type of visualization now. So we want to see all of this by segment. So let's first look for segment and drop segment in lines in the rows. Then after that, we're going to drop product name. And then we want to add all members. If you get this little pop-up, just click add all members. All right, and now what we need to do, and then we're going to drop the sales. So we put sales and we drop sales in the columns. So now it creates a bar chart for us with the amount of sales for each of the different products that our superstore is selling. We can also take profit and drag profit and drop it on color. All right. So what we'd like now is to filter down this list so that it shows only the top 10 selling products for each category. So we know which are the best products. So to do this, we have to create a calculated field. So calculated field is sort of like a mini code that you can create to go a little bit further than these drag and drop functionalities that Tableau has for you. And in fact, that's where sort of you go from kind of novice to like intermediate, so to speak, in Tableau, when you start knowing how to use calculated fields. So to create a calculated field, we click on this little arrow that you see next to the search bar on the dimensions and measures pane, and we can create a calculated field. So we click here and it opens a little dialog box for us. We can give this a name. We can call it rank of profits. And in here, we're going to type rank. And so you see here, Tableau gives me suggestions of all of the different things, whether they be dimensions, measures, or formulas that start with R. And we're going to choose rank. And then in rank, So you see here that Tableau also tells me, how I can use this formula. So I have to use an expression, which would be a dimension or a measure, and then I can sort ascending or descending. So this is going to create basically a ranking with numbers ranging from 1 to, the maximum amount of products or whatever I'm looking at here. And then I'm going to be able to filter thanks to that. So we're going to rank the profits. So we type PR, and then we see we have profits that appears here. We can click on it, enter. And then we want to sort this descending because we want the product of the most amount of profits to be ranked number 1. So in between commas, we write DESC, and then we can, what's wrong here? Oh, we have to rank the sum of profits, sorry. So I forgot to write sum here, right? Rank sum profits. So this is, hold on. Yeah, let me just start over. Rank sum profit. Yes, that's what I did wrong. Profit, then comma, descending. There we go. Okay, thank you. Then we click OK. And so what we need to do now, so this, you see, it's treated as a measure. Tableau, by default, treats this as a measure because it's numbers ranging from 1 to whatever. And so Tableau thinks this is a measure. But for us, we know that this is actually a dimension. It's supposed to be a category 1, 2, 3, 4, which is going to be the rank. So we're going to tell Tableau this is actually a dimension. And to do this, we right-click on the calculated field we just created, rank of profits. And then we say convert to discrete value. We convert it to a discrete value. It becomes blue now. And then we can drag this next to product name in the lines. And then we see a number here, which is the rank. So now we have to parameterize this calculation just a little bit because we want this ranking to be done within segments, right? We want it to start over at each segment because we want the top 10 of each segment. So to do this, we can right-click on the rank. We can modify the table calculation. Stay with me, we're almost done. And then we go to specific dimensions. I'll leave this open in a sec. What? Can I not make this bigger? And then we're gonna choose at the level of product name, and we start over each segment. There we go. This is what it should look like. At the level, the specific dimensions, we put both. At the level of product name, and we start over each segment. All right. So once this is done, we can click on rank of profits and we can sort thanks to this little button up here. And then we'll see that this will work. Hold on. That's the other one. There we go. What we need to do now is we actually don't want this in our view. We want to filter thanks to this calculation. So we're going to remove it from the lines. We're going to drag it and drop it into filters. And then we're going to keep numbers from 1 to 10. So what I did is I dragged this calculation we just made that was on rows, and we're going to drag it over to filters and keep numbers from 1 to 10. So we click OK. And so now we see we have only 10 values in here. And these are the 10 products per segment that have the highest profits. Okay. So now let's create our dashboard. So at the bottom here, we have 3 little buttons. The one to the very left is to create a new sheet, and the one in the middle is to create a dashboard. So let's click here. You arrive on an interface that looks like this. And a few things to note here is that you can choose the size of this dashboard, the resolution of it basically, and we're going to change this. So here you have the size. We're going to click and change it to, hold on, and we're going to change it to a generic desktop. So it's a little bit bigger. All right. And then here below this, you see we have our different sheets that we've created. We've got sales and profit. We've got the map, and this last one that we didn't rename. So let's start by using the map. So let's drag the map, click, drag it over this box on the right-hand side, and we see it becomes gray. If we let go, we've put the map now in the dashboard. After this, let's take the sales and profit, click, and drag it over to the right. We see this gray zone. This is the zone where the sheet will be placed. We let go, and now this sheet is placed here. And you notice that we also have, all of the different, the tooltip that we created as well. And then finally, let's take the fifth sheet, drag it, and now what we want to do is put it below the sales and profit per category. So we have to pay attention that the little gray square is beneath this top one here. And so now we have all three of these in one unique dashboard with all of the different tooltips that we've created before. So now we can create a little bit of interactivity on this dashboard. There are multiple ways to do it. And one of the easiest ways is to just click on one of these sheets to select it. And then here you see this little funnel icon. If you click on the funnel icon, now you've set this sheet as a filter. So let's do that for all of the sheets. We've done that for the map sheet. We can click on sales and profit by category, and then do that as well. And then do this for the last one, do that as well. And so now if we click on one of these areas, if we click on the United States, these other sheets change and are filtered to contain only data about the United States. If we choose, Brazil, it does the same, or whichever country, Nigeria, it does also the same. And it works, of course, from the other views as well, because we also set them as filters. So if we click on tables, it's going to show us the sales of tables across the world, the 10 best selling tables or most profitable tables, and so on and so forth. Right, the sales of the Cisco smartphone full size here, right? And so that's pretty much it. I mean, we could go, we could do much more than this. You can create calculated fields manually by going here, and then you can really, personalize the way you want to, actions, these filters in a more personalized way. You can add links in here. So if I wanted to, I could click on United States. Below here, there would be a little link that appears, and I can configure it so that it redirects me to a web page. I can navigate. I can create multiple dashboards and navigate from one dashboard to the next by clicking on different things in the dashboard. And then you can go, you can go pretty far with this and create some pretty cool looking dashboards and interactivity. So that's it for this. I hope it was a good overview of what you can do in Tableau. And I've prepared some exercises if you guys want to do them, or I guess we can move to the questions, whichever you prefer. They're kind of simple if you'd like. So I don't know.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, questions.
Yeah,
Yes.
So at the beginning, I missed adding one of the Excel sheets.
Yes.
Shipping 2016. So if I want to add it now, later,
You can.
I realized
Yes, you
I
can.
added it to the folder, but it didn't update. So
So if you go back to this tab, the data sources tab, and you double click here, it should be here, and then you can modify the union. And in here you can, oh, so you added it into the folder where this wildcard was done, and it didn't update?
well, maybe, but if I go to the, for example, maybe now it just took a while, but
Otherwise, try
in
click.
the dates, for example, I'm still missing in the second sheet 2016.
Okay, try this. Do you see this little kind of like a circle of arrows?
Oh, yeah.
Can you click on that?
Yeah, but it's like gray, like it's not.
Oh, it's gray. Okay, so that's strange. I guess I'll come and see in a sec and see what's wrong. Maybe other questions about this? Yeah.
So to present like our tables and everything, you have to be also on Tableau, or is there a way to export this the way it is?
So you have several options. If you want to, so you can publish all of these things onto a cloud or onto a server, where other users of Tableau, so you have to have a license, and there are different types of licenses, can go see. And they have access to all of the interactivity. There are different licenses, like named licenses, where you can just view dashboards, and those are quite cheap, or you can also buy impressions, which means you can go view it once, and that counts as an impression. So that's what you would use inside of a company, and people do need a license to see it. If you want to like build dashboards for fun, some people do this for fun, and you can publish it on Tableau Public, which is like a website that's managed by Tableau, and you can go there and you can go see your dashboard. So for example, if you were wanting to build like a kind of like portfolio of your Tableau projects to kind of get a job later, you could publish all of your things on Tableau Public and then include the link somewhere on your resume or something, and anybody could go then see it. You're welcome. Yeah.
But the license seems really expensive. Isn't there a tipping point in a company where it's more efficient to just hire one or two engineers that create a simpler solution to analyze the data?
That's a good question. And it depends on really kind of each company, what they're trying to do. You do need pretty specialized knowledge and skills to be able to build, dashboards with this type of interactivity. Then it's also a question of where you're gonna have to like host them somewhere. You have to manage the data, manage the security around access to this data, and all of this stuff that is all taken care of by Tableau. It also allows people with lower technical skills to start exploring the data on their own without the need to always go back to this person with the skills. So the idea here is to sort of widen the circle of people that can kind of like explore data and look at things. And to not always have to go to one area in the company, the person with the dashboarding skills to go code me this dashboard, make me this thing, make me this thing. I can make it myself. So it really is kind of up to every company to kind of figure out. But yes, it is quite expensive, but then, you get, there are enterprise prices and so on.
Because, it seems that there are a lot of cosmetic features. I don't know, I'm not in the industry, but the fact that you can like hover on something and see the graph, it seems a little bit cosmetic. Of course, it's gonna make you a little bit more efficient when you're gonna check the data, but you can still have like two tabs open with one side one thing, the other side one thing. You do a Control F. So I don't know. I'm kind of skeptic about all this licensing.
That's why I have nothing to gain, from you, but one of the things is I kind of wanted to show you all of the features. So, maybe it's not super necessary in this specific use case, but I thought it was neat to show that you can do this, so that I added it. So maybe that's why you think it's kind of cosmetic. But there are some legitimate use cases for putting, other visualizations inside of the tooltip. I don't know. It really depends. Maybe this one was cosmetic. Maybe it was a bad example. Yeah.
Just one question compared to Power BI, for example, what would you say that Tableau has over it?
I find it easier to use. I don't have that much experience with Power BI. I find it a little bit more intuitive and easy to use, and you can kind of like customize some things a little bit more with like little tricks and things that you learn kind of along the way. And you can sort of end up really getting exactly the visualization you want. I think the possibilities are a little bit more limited in Power BI. And also sometimes for some really simple things, you have to start writing a whole bunch of code to do something quite simple. I don't have an example right here in mind of, Gilles, maybe you have an example of something super complicated that's super simple in Tableau. Yeah, you did the Tableau. A while back, we did a little Tableau versus Power BI competition, like a little conference where we, showed how to do the same types of things in Tableau and Power BI. And the conclusion was, some super simple things in Tableau are very complicated in Power BI, but sometimes Power BI is better as well. The advantage of Power BI is it looks a lot like the other Microsoft products. So the interface is very similar and it's maybe more approachable for someone who's very used to working with Excel or something. There's the pricing and it's packaged with other Microsoft products. But I haven't used it so much, so I can't answer in more depth than that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Let's give a round of applause for Tyler.